Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on EDI and 3PL. Hope everybody's having a good morning or good afternoon if you're from New Zealand. I'll be presenting today alongside my colleague Rohan. For anyone that hasn't met me before or worked with me, my name is Leon, and I'm the product analyst dedicated to the EDI and 3PL area of Cin7, and Rohan, who is also presenting today, is one of the integration analysts from the Cin7 support team who helps onboard customers with EDI integrations. Just so you know, a recorded version of this webinar will be available in a week's time, and I'll be able to attach the content again for anybody that wasn't present in today's webinar or wants to go through it a second time. Finally, we'd love to hear from you, so we'll have a few minutes after the presentation to go through any questions submitted through the Zoom questions and answers panel, or you can leave it in the chat if you want. And in the event that we don't have time to go through all the questions, we'll leave some email contacts for you to get in touch with us directly. Cool. So based on the attendee list, we've got a combination of new and existing Cin7 customers, some that are completely new to EDI and 3PL and want to know more about how to get started with Cin7, and we've got some that are actively using EDI and 3PL already. So going through today's agenda, we're going to brush on just a short refresher on what exactly is EDI and 3PL. We're going to go through the benefits of using Cin7's 3PL and EDI integrations and why you should use them. We'll dive into a look into how Cin7 onboards new EDI and 3PL integrations and what's exactly involved in that process. We'll go through a basic walkthrough on using EDI and 3PL integrations in Cin7, and we'll brush through some workflow automation tips and tricks to drive efficiency for anybody that's already using EDI and 3PL. We'll also look at a sneak peek on some of the upcoming features in Cin7 that we're building in the EDI and 3PL space. And after that, we'll dedicate some time to go through any questions and queries that you might have. Cool. So first, I'd just like to refresh everybody on what EDI integrations are. So EDI, which stands for Electronic Data Interchange, allows for the electronic transfer of B2B or business to business and transactional data between trading partners. In this scenario, it'll be Cin7 and your retailer, and this is done through a standardized industry recognized format. Common EDI transactions that are communicated between Cin7 and your retailer include purchase orders, order acknowledgements, advanced shipping notices, and invoices. Using a EDI solution in Cin7 is ideal for businesses dealing with one or multiple trading partners and a high order volume due to the scale, functionality, and automation offered. And you can see below there's just a few of the more popular EDI retailers that we've established direct integrations to. Cool. So just a refresher on 3PL integrations, and this is the other side of integrations that our team works on. So 3PL or third-party logistics refers to the outsourcing of e-commerce logistics processes, and that includes storage of your stock in outsourced warehouses and the fulfillment of your orders. Common 3PL transactions in Cin7 include outbound and inbound pick requests and pick confirmation messages, and this caters specifically to your sales orders, your purchase orders, and branch transfers. Using a 3PL solution enables you to slipstream your logistics processes and eliminates the need to fulfill in warehouse space, technology, and transportation required to carry out day-to-day fulfillment of your products. And I've also attached some of our popular 3PL integrations at the bottom of the slide, and you'll recognize quite a few of them. Cool. So I'll just quickly go through some of the main benefits of using EDI integrations with Cin7. So the first point being cost reduction. So using EDI removes the requirement of transactions done through traditional ordering methods, such as phone, fax, and or email. No longer need to go into the sales order module and manually create orders. It's all done for you via EDI. We're also looking at the sales channel enablement. So it's quite common to find retailers, especially big box retailers, that prefer to only trade with you via EDI, or they prefer that. And also the efficiency gains of it. So a fully integrated EDI solution means reduction of manual processes and errors, and increased speed of business through automation and a faster turnaround time to complete your end-to-end ordering. Much like EDI, 3PL integrations share a lot of the same value. So again, with the cost reduction, 3PLs are able to provide the best value from their carriers due to their greater bargaining power. This also mitigates and reduces your costs in investing in people, facilities, and equipment necessary to operate your supply chain. There's also the scalability aspect of it. So 3PL providers bring access to an infrastructure that can scale to your business needs. By working with a 3PL, you'll have access to a scalable pool of resources that allow you to meet business objectives as they arise. For example, if you anticipate a busy period, like Black Friday or Cyber Monday, or maybe the Christmas period, or any other signs of rapid growth, you can easily expand your distribution and shipping capabilities without costly investment in facilities and labor. And the last benefit is expertise in technology. So 3PLs have a deep expertise in the transportation industry. They help streamline logistical processes, they help you identify inefficiencies, and they promote a lot of cost savings. They also offer a wealth of knowledge about the transportation industry as a whole, and often cultivate and nurture relationships with partners throughout the industry. They also enhance efficiency through the use of their software, which helps businesses manage and optimize their transportation and delivery routes. Cool. I'll just pass it over to Rahan, who will take you through how we onboard new integrations.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Leon. Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. I'm just going to briefly cover the life cycle of a connection and the process it would take to actually onboard each connection that gets requested from us. Basically, the process entails us to make sure that you can trade correctly with a retailer. And to do that, we have to go through some vigorous mapping and testing processes that do require a bit of time to make sure that your business is compliant with the retailer specifications. Now, this process has quite a lot of dependencies and would require all parties to be actively involved in this process to make sure this goes as smoothly as possible. Now, without further ado, I'll just jump straight into the actual Cin7 onboarding process for a new connection. The first stage that we would need to go into would be the discovery and requirements gathering stage. When you guys have put through a request for a new EDI connection, what will happen in the background would be a Cin7 integration analyst, such as myself, will be assigned to your request, and we will basically jump on a call with you guys to scope out your requirements and gather all of the information that we need. Once we have done that scoping call, one of the more important things that we would need to do is establish communication with your retailer, whether it be for a 3PL or an EDI connection. It would still require a point of contact from their end to actually get in touch with and start building that connection. Once we have got that up and running, we would need to set up something called a trading partner relation, and to set up an EDI address for your business. Now, usually EDI addresses are based on a unique identifier, so we do prefer if you do have a GS1 prefix, we do base it off that, as that is unique to your business. We have two types of connections that can actually come in. So we classify them as existing or as a new connection. Now, an existing connection would be, for example, a connection that we have already built before for other Cin7 customers that they have been using for a while. These wouldn't require the technical documentation, as we've already mapped to the specifications. However, if there is a connection that you would like to have that you don't think that we offer, we can still build that out just by getting in contact with your technical point of contact on the retailer's end and grabbing the technical documentation, which will basically be the specifications and the structure of the file itself. Once that is done, we'd have to pass that over to one of our developers to get that mapped, and then we're well underway to building that connection for you. Just like I mentioned before, when we pass that over to the developers, that would move us into the mapping and development stage. Now, the development of the EDI 3PL integration basically entails us mapping the file and making sure the structure is compliant to what the specifications have been given by the retailer. In this stage, we'll also be going through and doing some configuration, code changes, and customization if it is required by the specifications. And we'll also be adding this connection onto your Cin7 account, so you'll be able to see it in the integrations tab on the left-hand side of your screen. Once all of this is completely set up, we can actually move forward into the setup and the compliance stage. Now, the setup of a connection entails of a couple of things, and I'll cover them briefly right now. One thing that we would need to do is ensure that we have a stable connectivity between your EDI address and the retailers, so that what we would do is we would send files back and forth just to make sure that the connectivity is there and that each party is receiving and able to send the required files. Once that is done, what we would do is we would set up an EDI test branch, which is where we would be carrying out most, if not all, of the compliance testing. Once we are well into the before we start the compliance testing, sorry, we would also need to create some test products to actually use while doing the EDI compliance testing. Now, although we can create some test products, we would prefer to use live products that you guys would be selling through that integration, just to make sure that everything goes smoothly when we go live with the connection. We'd prefer to test with your actual products rather than test products, as there could be different scenarios within your workflow that could affect the EDI itself. So once we have all that set up and we're ready for the compliance testing, the retailer will actually send through a file or an email with some test scenarios that we would have to go through to become compliant. The process for this is a bit lengthy, but it can be done very quickly. So what we would have to do is basically we would send off files between Cin7 and the retailer and validate them on either end to make sure they're compliant with the specifications that we had received earlier. If the retailer validates them correctly and they are satisfactory, they are completed to a satisfactory level, the retailer will then sign us off and say, hey, you're ready to go live. You just need to agree upon a date that we can switch this over to the production environment. At that point, we have completed the compliance stage and we will head straight into the training/go live. Now, this training and go live would entail a Cin7 representative, such as an integration analyst like myself. We would be booking a Zoom meeting with you guys to train you on how to use the connection and how to send each of the files within Cin7. So it's a very hands-on training and it is recorded, so you can actually watch that back at any point if you do want a little refresher course. So the training takes place, we'll take you through all of the files that are required for that specific connection. And we do this for every connection, as every connection has different requirements and a different workflow itself. So once we've showed you all of that and you're all confident with that, we will go through some of the automations and the configuration of the settings of the integration. I'll touch a bit more on the automations in a bit, but we basically will be setting them up in that meeting, and we'll also be removing the test orders and getting your account ready for the go live. The final thing that you need to do would be to agree upon a go live date with your retailer and 3PL, and as long as that's communicated with us, we can switch it over at the same time, and then we move on to step 5, which means you're live and you're ready to use the integration. Now, we don't leave you high and dry at all. We will be providing you post-live on your first set of orders that come through from that integration. So you would just need to reach out to your integration analyst to get some help if maybe you're stuck somewhere or there's something not quite going as planned. We're always happy to help out. After that, we do have a Cin7 EDI and 3PL team, which is available for support on your request, which will be shared to you in an email address at the end of the slideshow. Next slide, please, Leon. Cool. I'll pass that
Cool.
back on to Leon.
Thanks, Rohan. Cool. So yeah, I'll just go through a traditional EDI and 3PL workflow, and bear with me if you guys already know and are using EDI and 3PL on Cin7, it might get a bit repetitive. So a conventional EDI workflow starts by receiving a purchase order, and this has been initiated by the retailer that you're connected with and that you sell your products to. The frequency of the order would be defined by the relationship you have with your retailer. So it could be anything like a seasonal order if you sell fashion items. It could be a replenishment order, or it could simply be a dropship order by the end user of the retailer. So what Cin7 does is it translates that purchase order coming from the retailer into a Cin7 sales order ready for you to fulfill. The order arrives into the sales order module, and it looks exactly like a Shopify order or an Amazon seller order, or even a manually created sales order. So this means it's got all the details required to fulfill that specific order. So that includes addresses like store address or DC address, or if it's a dropship order, it would have the end customer's address. It would have the requested order quantity, any required SKUs or product codes, or unit of measure sizing that's required, and it would also specify a delivery window or delivery time frame in which you're expected to ship and complete that order by. So your next steps would be to fulfill that EDI order, and this can be done through the traditional sales order module. This can also be done through our in-house EDI dashboard fulfillment tool, or this whole process can be driven entirely through automation, which requires no manual intervention. After you pick and pack your shipment based on the requirements of that order, you'll be able to print off any required carton or retailer-specific labels, for example, packing slips or cartonization labels from within Cin7 and attach them to your shipment. Alternatively, if you have a fully integrated 3PL solution in Cin7, they can take care of this whole process for you. Once the shipment has been fulfilled from your end, you'll be able to send the retailer a few EDI messages, one being the advanced ship notice, and this lets the retailer know exactly when that shipment's going to arrive and what's in the shipment. It also contains carrier and tracking information if they need to track that shipment along the way. And the last step of completing that whole EDI process or the EDI order would be to send an invoice to the retailer. And this again is done through EDI, and it can be fully automated. This invoice defines payment terms and conditions, and it also specifies the exact payment amount for that order. Cool. So using a 3PL is very similar to EDI. So you'd start off by sending your sales order or purchase order to the 3PL via your integration. It doesn't matter what sales channel you're using. So it could be an EDI order, it could be a Shopify order, it could be a marketplace order, or just a back-end manually created order. These can all go to the 3PL. So this can be done through the traditional sales order module or the purchase order module, or driven entirely by automation based on your stock levels for your relevant branch. Cin7 translates that order into a recognized file format that the 3PL can receive and process on their end. And once the 3PL receives the order, they have all the requirements or instructions to start picking and packing that order on your behalf. Once that order is fulfilled by the 3PL, they would trigger what we call a confirmation file, and that file is gets sent back to Cin7, or it's synced back into Cin7. Basically, this file updates Cin7 in real time. It would update the order as dispatched, and it also lets Cin7 know how many quantity has been shipped by the 3PL, what exact timing that has been shipped, and also carrier and tracking information. And it's also important to state that if you have any e-commerce integrations like Shopify hooked up into Cin7, then these statuses and tracking and carrier information gets synced back into your Shopify, and as a result, that can be passed back onto your end customer that is purchased through your Shopify store. Cool.
Sweet. Thanks, Leon. I'm just going to touch on some of the available automations that we do have within Cin7 for EDI and 3PL. So EDI and 3PL do work pretty hand in hand, and I will explain to you how. One important note that we have here is the import and export schedulers. So this will basically allow you to import and export your files automatically within specified time intervals. So we can set that up for your account and for your integration separately. So you can actually have different timings for different integrations. We can set them up from anywhere between 2 minutes to 12 to 24 hours as an interval. And this will basically save you a lot of time and manual effort of clicking all the buttons to import and export when it can actually be done periodically, automatically for you through using these import and export schedulers. It's the same case with the inventory schedulers. They will basically run on the same format. You can choose whether you'd like to send them off every 24 hours or 12 hours or even less than that if it is required by the retailer. As we know, some retailers do require inventory files and inventory levels to be sent very periodically to update stock levels on their end. So this will basically allow you to export your inventory files to retailers daily and automatically without any human intervention at all. This will also directly pick up your stock levels through Cin7 and send whatever is in your master data for Cin7 straight over to your retailer. So you will not have to do anything to update your stock levels on their end. If you are an existing customer, then you don't think you have this set up at the moment, you can talk to your Cin7 integration analyst right now, or you could even email the EDI support email to get this set up for your integration today. Cool. Next slide, please, Leon. Thank you. So this screenshot here is just a little example from the integration settings itself. So these are the current automations that we offer, or a few of them. So we can look at this first one here, the default 3PL status under the fulfillment tab. Basically, this allows you to automatically set the 3PL status when an order comes into Cin7 through EDI. So this is not necessarily just for EDI. This setting also exists in your Shopify integrations. So in short, basically what this does is this will allow you to choose when you want to send that order to your 3PL automatically so that it can be picked and packed and dispatched accordingly. Obviously, if you pick the setting that is shown in the screenshot here to transfer to 3PL manually when fully dispatched or set days upon start window, you'd have to specify the amount of days before the start window where you'd like to send the order to your 3PL just to make sure that it gets picked and packed on time. All right, on to the next the next setting, send ASN upon shipping / 3PL confirmation. This setting basically allows you to send off an ASN automatically without you having to have any manual intervention. As Leon mentioned earlier, there are two main files that we send to the 3PL. One is the pick request, which is basically sending the order to the 3PL, telling them that they need to pick all of these items for this order. Once that is done and it's been picked and packed and the carrier and the tracking information has been set by the 3PL, they'll send back a file called the pick response. Now the pick response has all of this carrier and tracking information, and once that is imported into Cin7, we'll automatically update the sales order in Cin7 with all the relevant information. And it just so happens that the information that's being sent in that pick response is also what is required to send off the ASN. So once we've met all that criteria, it will automatically send the ASN to your retailer. So this This basically allows you to send off your ASN automatically without you having to come in and do any manual intervention. This works well hand in hand with the import and export schedulers, as once you have scheduled the file to be sent, the import and export schedulers will kick in and send off the file automatically for you without you even having to look at the order. Similar to the ASN upon shipping 3PL confirmation setting, we've got the setting for the invoicing. Once we've sent that ASN off, we will be receiving a file back called the ASN acknowledgement. This acknowledgement file basically is just a communication from the retailer saying, hey, we've received your ASN file, you're good to go ahead and send the invoice to us. Now, once Cin7 has imported that file for a specific order, if this setting is set to yes or a couple of days after, there are options to send the invoice for 1 through 7 days after the ASN acknowledgement has come in. If this is set to one of those settings, this will automatically send the invoice out to the retailer as long as the criteria is met that is required for the invoice. Yeah, that is it from me. I'll let Leon carry on with the next slide.
Cool, thanks for that. So yeah, just a sneak peek on some of the upcoming features that we're sitting on releasing in the second half of 2020. So we're currently working on a feature called the 3PL email notifications, and basically this helps provide some transparency and visibility on errors during the 3PL fulfillment process. So we've identified this as being quite a big pain point for our customers using 3PL. It's pretty hard to deal with. There's a lot of moving pieces, and at times the 3PL doesn't always send back the correct information. So we've created a notification system that'll trigger emails based on certain events happening. This includes things like missing barcodes or unmapped products with the 3PL, missing batch numbers or missing expiry dates if you're selling perishable products. Upon import of 3PL confirmations, you'd also get notifications on orders that are under dispatched or over dispatched by the 3PL. So basically, you'll be able to select from a list of notifications, which once triggered would allow you to receive an email that's fully automated, and that just allows you to reduce or mitigate any chance of delayed orders with your 3PL. Another feature that we're working on is a tool to help with mapping carriers between Cin7 and your 3PL. So to provide some context to anyone that isn't familiar with carrier mapping, normally when we onboard a new 3PL with Cin7, we have to go through a list of specific conditions or rules to ensure that any order that Cin7 is sending to that specific 3PL contains shipping carriers or shipping services or shipping codes that only that 3PL can process. And the issue being each 3PL might have a different list of carriers or services that they use. And each of your Cin7 sales channels, for example, your Shopify or Magento or EDI, they all might contain a different list of freight descriptions being pulled through. So this means that we need to set up some pretty complex carrier mapping. And we've designed this tool as a means to help you map on the fly, map in real time, and also change and manipulate at any point of time if you do want to change that mapping. So more information on these feature releases will be provided closer to their release dates, so just stay tuned for that. Cool. So that wraps up the content that we'd like to share with you, but would also just like to show you a few areas worth noting down. If you'd like to know more about EDI and 3PL, or if you need any further help with troubleshooting your issues. So first of all, you can find a list of every EDI and 3PL integration that we offer in the URL on the top of that slide. So that's just cin7.com/integrations. You can also find it in the navigation when you go to cin7.com. So these are all the integrations that we offer, and this is categorized by region, which will help you find the ones available in your area. Any integration, including EDI or 3PL, that isn't on the list that you're also interested in connecting to, we can also look into that for you. So just get in touch with us and we can go through the standard process. We also have a help site that has a variety of videos and help articles for troubleshooting more common EDI and 3PL issues. We've got a list of premium support phone numbers, and last of all, we've got a fully fledged in-house EDI and 3PL support team with email addresses ready to help you out for any specific issues or queries. Cool. So we've just got some time to go through any questions and answers. So if you could use the questions and answers function on Zoom to ask your question, we can look into that for you and answer them. If we do run out of time, feel free to send us an email through the EDI or 3PL support email addresses and we can get back to you. And yeah, just a reminder that this slide and recording will be sent out to you in about a week's time.
Cool. I will pick up the first question that has been asked by Tara. Hi, how do you fix a broken / mixed up link with the 3PL? All right, Tara, I would need a little bit more information on what exactly, so just the specifications of the broken and mixed up link, obviously. So if you'd like to send over a email to our EDI support team. So Leon, if you want to go back one slide, we can show the email again. So if you have a look down the bottom there is the edi-support@cin7.com. Now that email is basically just a direct link to our support team who should be able to fix your issues or at least investigate them to figure out what's going wrong and then take some steps towards actually resolving the issue. So if you want to reach out to someone in that team, someone should be able to get back to you on that one. Perfect. I will mark that as done. Cool. All right, next question. Anonymous, what is the average timing for onboarding new EDI connections? At the moment, we are quoting around 8 to 12 weeks. Obviously, like I mentioned before, there are a lot of dependencies on this project running smoothly. So we would need all parties to be actively involved and actively responding on those email tickets to actually get that going as smooth as possible. And also, it also depends on the actual complexity of the connection and how many different files and what different requirements the retailer has. If you have a specific connection in mind, feel free to send an email over to our support team and we can definitely let you know a better time frame. Cool. Another question. How do you monitor any connection issues with your EDI mailbox provider? Right. Leon, do you want to take this one?
Yep. So we've got quite a lot of error checks and validations built into Cin7 when we do send through any EDI messages to our EDI van or mailbox provider. They also offer a portal for us to log into, and they also send us automated error notifications in the event that there are connection issues. For example, if there's a bounce back from one of the retailers that was sent a message to, we would get an email so we can rectify that. Cool.
We'll just give a couple more minutes for any late questions. So Leon and I will stay in the Zoom meeting. If anyone has any more questions, we'll probably end it in about 5 minutes or so. All right, so I see another question just come up from Karen. I had an issue last week with EDI mailbox provider. This was actively picked up by the team monitoring. Is the issue the provider? Not necessarily. There actually could be a lot of factors that need to be taken into account before assuming that it is the provider itself. There could be a multitude of different places where a file might not have been sent or might not have been received. It's just the process of actually debugging with the provider itself and working with the team at the provider's end to actually get to the bottom of the issue. Without hearing any specifics, I can't really conclude whether the issue would be on the provider's end or not. Sweet, no problem, Karen.
Cool. We'll probably wrap it up there. Like Rohan mentioned, feel free to get in touch with us through email or phone. We'd love to hear from you guys. Any questions, queries, suggestions, feedback on any area, just let us know and we can get in contact with you. So yeah, once again, thanks for attending the webinar. Hopefully you guys learnt some new things or picked up something informative. So thanks and have a great day.